So half of my mouth is numb. Great dentist visit today, but not good for doing audios, but show must go on, right? That was Karen Valentine of room 222 I'm uploading a video right now. It'll pop up in a minute and then I will load it to my one of my YouTube channels. But yeah, really looking strongly at tomorrow 222. And wouldn't you know, room 222, first episode on 9/11. Yeah. So anyway, but that's not what this channel is. This channel is just Bible studies. Let's get going with half of a numb mouth. The queen of the south shall rise up in the judgment. The queen of the south with this generation and shall condemn it. For she came from the uttermost parts of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon, and behold, a greater than Solomon is here. When the unclean spirit is gone out of a man, he walketh through dry places seeking rest, and findeth none. Then he saith, I'll return into my house from where I came from. And when he comes, he finds it empty, swept, and garnished. Then goeth he and taketh with himself 7 other spirits more wicked than himself, and enter in and dwell there. And the last state of that man is worse than the first. So I guess what that's saying, again, there's so much cryptic, figurative language in the Word of God because Jesus spoke in parables. Jesus is the Word, the entire Word. Did y'all hear me slur right there? And the entire Word is one big parable. But what Jesus is saying is the goat will always get worse and worse spiritually. The demons they have just grow in number. They get more into self, more away from any truth. What little they had, as the parable of the sower and the seeds, dissipates. Then goeth he and taketh with himself. So he said that, they dwell in there. Even so shall it be unto this wicked generation. So he's also comparing it to the generation and this is also the final generation, if I'm not mistaken, because there's 3 sets of 14 generations, 42 total. Jesus was the 42nd generation, and then that's the final generation. That's a long story, but I think it's in Matthew that began with the 14 generations, 42 generations. If you just say that, there's my video that popped up with the Karen Valentine thing. Let me load that. But there it is right there. 42 generations. And then it says 14 generations. So there's 3 sets of 14. And let me load this video. I'll be right back. All right. And while he yet talked to the people, behold, his mother and his brethren stood without, desiring to speak with him. Now, this is what eliminates the pagan Rome religion based in Rome, that city-state there in the middle of Rome. You know, that the Da Vinci Code series was always centered at. It puts, they place her as a deity and having you pray to her, Jesus's mother, and of course, Jesus tells you how his mother fits into the grand scheme of things, that she's just a person. They will tell you Jesus had no physical brothers, and of course he did. Of course, Mary had sex. I think I was raised in that religion, so yeah. Schooled it for 8 years, and then was shown astrology there on a yearbook, paper stapled yearbook, astrology wheel. Became an astrologer later in life and thought it was just fine to do that because it was, my religion was fine with it. Then you find out about the religion. Then you're like, whoa, well, no wonder. Says your mother and your brothers are standing, they don't have the ability to see you, but they're desiring to see you. Then one said unto him, behold, thy mother and thy brethren stand without, desiring to speak with thee. Okay, so he stood with the people, and his mother and his brothers were trying to speak to him, and they couldn't. That's verse 46. 47 says, then one of the disciples said, hey, Jesus, your mother and your brothers, they're trying to talk to you, and they can't get a hold of you. They can't get your attention. So the apostle is speaking up on their behalf. And then Jesus answered and said unto him, the one that told him that, he said, who is my mother? And who are my brothers? Now he's talking, of course, in the spiritual sense. And he stretched forth his hand toward his disciples and said, behold, my mother and my brethren. In other words, so did that not just put Jesus's mom in perspective? She's just a person. Not anybody to be deified or prayed to. That, of course, is extremely satanic. For whosoever shall do the will of my Father, in that particular will, because everybody ever born is doing God's will. But this particular will is speaking to the sheep that do the righteous things. Whosoever shall do the will of the Father which is in heaven, the same is my brother and sister and mother. So that whole religion has just been put in perspective. All right, we're going to begin Revelation 14. It's a powerful chapter. And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on Mount Sion, and with him 144,000. Now, these are the ones that were redeemed from the Great Tribulation, those left alive on the earth, where he put an end to the Great Tribulation. He cut those days short, or else no sheep flesh would be saved. And he stopped it right at 144,000 people, or sheep, alive on the earth, having his Father's name written in their foreheads. So again, the mark of the beast is spiritual. Jesus seals his on their foreheads. That's also in another chapter where it says that they had the seal of God on their foreheads. Let's just go to that again, just to give you perspective of it. And foreheads. Yeah, I spelled it right. Oh, why didn't it come up? All right, let's just move it to Revelation real quick. 8 times the word forehead is in Revelation. That's a lot. So saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God on their forehead. So the mark of the beast, where they get sealed on their forehead, it's a spiritual, it's talking about a spiritual sealing. And I'm sure that it's quite possible a physical mark does materialize. If you remember Reagan in The Exorcist, she had marks all over her face. So Revelation 9:4, but only those men which have not the seal of God on their forehead. So there it is again. Now here are the goats. The mark is on their foreheads, right hand or forehead. The right hand also, has to do with the same subject. And here it is again, 14:1, and it's going to come up again at 14:9. And that particular forehead is talking about the goats, the warning. And upon Mystery Babylon's forehead was the name written. So these are talking about spiritual sealings. It's a spiritual seal when that forehead is mentioned. So, and with him, 144,000 having his father's name written in their foreheads. And I heard a voice from heaven. Sorry, my mouth, again, it's half numb, so I can hardly talk. And I heard a voice from heaven as the voice of many waters and as a great, and the voice of the great thunder. And I heard the voice of the harpers harping with their harps. And they sung as it were a new song before the throne and before the four beasts and the elders, and no man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth. So that's why I told you who I think they are. They could all be of the Jewish bloodline remnant. It potentially speaks to that where it says being first fruits. These are they which were not defiled with women, for they are virgins. Now, all sheep have that spiritual virginity, even though they might marry. It doesn't mean that these are just people that have never had sex, in my opinion. Let God be true and every man a liar. These are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth, sheep. These were redeemed from among men, being first fruits, sheep, unto God and the Lamb. Now this could again be the remnant. And in their mouth was found no guile, sheep, for they are without fault before the throne of God. That's sheep. Sheep are blameless or faultless because their sins are forgiven, for Jesus died for the sheep's sins. And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth. So when the gospel is preached at the end times, it's an angel that does it. A lot of people try to tell you that, oh, the church is going to, it says the gospel's preached. They don't tell you the truth. It's an angel during the wrath of God, or at the onset of God's wrath. It's the angel that flies in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach to them that dwell on the earth and to every nation and kindred and tongue and people. So from the heaven down to the earth will it be heard. That's the end of today's study. I'm glad y'all are here. I love you very much. Ask questions anytime. That's what I'm here for.